5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Loud Snackers Podcast.
Welcome. What's up, everybody?
Yo.
What episode is this? 20? 40?
I think it's 10. Is it 10?
Ooh, special.
Oh.
Milestone.
That's exciting.
X.
10th episode on a Zoom call. Can't complain, given the times. Eunice just came back from Hawaii.
Yeah, how was that? Tell us about your time there.
I swam with dolphins and learned how to surf. I got super tan. People thought I was a local.
You got super tan? I think you were always brown a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. That's what people tell me whenever I'm like, oh, I got so brown.
You're like, really tan.
It's crazy that you and Joe are brothers because your skin tones are pretty different from each other.
One of us showers and one of us doesn't. So.
Oh, yeah.
That's gross. But,
yeah, I remember growing up, people would say like, "Oh, like, are you guys mixed, or is your brother like Filipino, maybe?" You know, and I'm like, no, you know. But yeah, we do have a very different complexion. But I'm too white. Yeah, I think like if I, you know, like my thigh area is so white that it's embarrassing. You know, it's like there's such a contrast between like, you know, my when I do get a tan, like, you know, for instance, my arm or something, and then my leg is just like so white. It's confusing.
Blinding.
Yeah.
One would say.
Yeah. 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 So what's everyone up to? What's everyone been up to?
Oh yeah, finish about your Hawaii time. Like, what was the most fun thing?
Surfing, hands down, surfing. If you are considering going to Hawaii, and if you ever go to Hawaii, don't doubt. Just go surfing.
Just don't. Who doubts?
I don't know. I doubted, and I waited till like the last 3 days when I was there, and I don't know why I waited so long.
What's the hardest thing about surfing? I've never gone surfing in my life.
I think the hardest thing is probably catching the wave. But for me, it was easy because I went with an instructor who pushed me onto the wave. So some would also say that paddling is also really, really hard because it's literally you're just like on your belly and you're paddle. And then when you're out there by yourself, like without an instructor, you have to like watch the waves and see if this is a wave that you can like ride on. I didn't know. And then the instructor always knew. So he was like, okay, yeah, this one. And then he would tell me like how hard to paddle. And then he would push me as soon as the wave came up. And then I would just ride the wave. And it was...
Is popping up hard for you?
Oh, it's kind of like doing a burpee.
Okay.
Basically, like once you're ready to go onto the wave, or like when the instructor thinks that you are, he'll say, get up. And then like prior to getting into the water, they like tell you how to get up from the wave. So it's basically you push up and you like tuck your knees under, and then you pop up your left knee or your right knee, and then you slowly stand up. And then you're kind of just like.
Would you ever live in Hawaii?
Yes.
You would?
1,000%, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
you feel like you're eventually going to make it over there?
God, I wish. I hope.
Because I heard that people like, I'm not sure if they get sick of it, but then like the island life is not like it's
for everybody.
It can get, I don't know about tiring, but then it can get mundane. Like it can become mundane after some time.
Are you guys, I always ask people this when I try to get to know them. So I'm going to ask you, between mountains, forest, city, or seaside, where are you called to the most?
Oh, seaside for sure for me, like the beach.
Forest, I imagine bugs, gross, right? And then there's, what was the other one? Seaside,
mountain, forest,
seaside, city.
Seaside, tsunami.
This guy.
And then was it the city? Man, I don't like noise. Yeah, I also don't really like people. Yeah, like, I think it's just better when there's less people.
You guys, I thought this conversation was going to be like a lot lighter. Like, oh,
yeah, life is better without people.
I mean, don't you find that like it's less drama, less things
Eunice,
to worry about?
I was actually on your path, Eunice. Like I was like, oh, seaside, but like that's what I was trying
to go
just
hang out with all the people at the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like the mountain.
Mountains. Yeah, I was thinking the mountains, but then I was thinking like hunger. Like I'd be hungry. You
can go shopping. It's not like you're destitute.
I'm so like
Haven't tried an Amazon.
yeah, there's nothing to do. But yeah, I guess that's why I don't travel as much. I don't travel for fun at least. It's like I don't get too excited about traveling, but I know that if I had the mentality like you guys, I would have so much more anticipation, I guess, when it comes to traveling and probably planning to. But yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another question then. What about Hawaiian cuisine can you eat forever?
Oh.
And is there something that is missing from Hawaii that you must have?
Wow. I think Hawaiian food is really good, but it's pretty salty. It's like a lot of pork, a lot of meat. And when you go there, there's a lot of places that serve like plate lunches. Mm-hmm. So like have you had L&L Hawaiian barbecue?
Yes.
Literally that. You get your mac salad, you get your kaibi, or like you get your short ribs or your pulled pork or your katsu or
it's very
just any of that really heavy.
Very it's Hawaiian food is very heavy. Like
yeah,
a lot of food.
Am I the only one that hasn't been to Hawaii out of us four?
You've never been?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't just be asking these questions like acting like I've never been there.
What if they're like, welcome home, just by his skin color?
What part of the island you from?
Okay,
so I've never been. Maybe someday,
Wow, I didn't know that you've never been.
Wow, maybe for a soon
that's right.
called honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps we were thinking possibly Asia or Europe.
Oh my gosh.
Asia would be fun.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't mind going to the motherland of Spam.
I have to tell you guys this one story. So we were getting getting massages by like the shore, right? And they had these like tents, and I went to my little hut, and Jen, she went to her little hut, and then we went in there, and I step in, and they're like, okay, just take your clothes off. So I'm like, like this is a kind of a strange thing to do. You're, I guess like everyone does it, so it's cool, So they give me a towel, so I assumed, okay, well, I guess I just put it around my waist and just lay down. So I did that, and they started giving me a massage around my neck, and I was like, oh, this is pretty nice. And then slowly, like I felt like she was getting lower. I'm like, man, it's kind of getting lower to my butt cheeks. I don't know if this is safe. I don't know how I feel about this. But then, they start going, and then it got a little bit closer. So I got nervous. I kind of tensed up. My butt cheeks got a little bit tighter. And then she went back up to the neck. So I was like, but then right after the neck, she just went straight down to my butt cheeks. She just grabbed both of them and then start like,
I think just spread them.
Yeah, start spreading it, and oh my gosh, I'm like, what is going? But I couldn't complain. I was like, this is amazing. Like I've never had anybody, use this type of muscle on my butt. Like this type of power and this, like this hand power.
Yes.
This grasp. Like I was so impressed, and I was like, this is incredible. And I never had anybody. And maybe I just needed some massage on my butt. Well.
And then she leaned over and then she whispered, like, I don't work here.
well, it gets interesting because I'm going like, man, that was crazy. And I come out, and I see Jen, and I'm like, Jen, that was crazy. That was pretty good, but it's a little bit strange though, because you have to kind of, get naked, and she was like, what? You don't get naked. And I'm like, what do you mean? I took my whole, like everything off. She's like, you're not supposed to take everything off, just your top. I'm like, what? And I look back at the lady, and she just has a smile. I'm like, oh my God, wait, what?
And she was naked too.
She's just like, her hands, her giant hands, like, yes, got your butt. And I'm like, oh man. But
I'll never wash my hands again.
Yeah. like, wait, I mean, I don't know how to feel about that because I'm like, that was pretty amazing, you know? I didn't know what to say, like, thank you or like, F you, you know? But yeah, that was quite an experience. You know?
I too had the best massage of my life in Hawaii. And it was a Thai massage, but it was better than the Thailand massage I got in Thailand, or Thai massage I got in Thailand, and better than a Balinese massage I got in Bali. So,
what are
Sam, you're in for a treat.
You have these classifications of different massages. I just think like rub my back really hard. Like, what's a Thai massage?
They literally get up on top of you and step on you. Like, you've seen Charlie's Angels, right?
I mean, like in my preteen years or something.
Oh,
there's a scene where Lucy
one.
Liu, she gets on top of the guy and she like jumps on top of him. Nobody jumped on top of me, but there was a part where the woman like took her toes like right here and she's like, and then my neck went, and I was like, oh, that feels so good.
See, if they did that to my butt, it'd be like right in the butthole. And I'm like, oh. And she'll say like, this is all part of the special that we have today. You know, like, oh my.
You just got violated. It wasn't.
You know how like when you get massages, you have your face through the hole and you can see their feet when they're rubbing your back. It's like, what if their big toes are just brown?
Oh God.
You requested the extra big toe, right?
Yeah. The special is hot today, you know.
She's a veteran when her toes are brown.
Oh my God, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so none of that, but
okay. So I have a story about surfing. This is like a story about like, because it's like the times have changed, right? So
yes.
This is when I was like, I think I was in middle school, maybe, because we went to Hawaii for a vacation with my family, right? And we were there, and maybe I was elementary school. It was like later elementary school or middle school. I forget what it was. And I forget exactly what went down to create the scenario, but basically I wanted to learn to surf, right? So my parents were like, okay, let's learn to surf. But the thing is, the place that I had to go to learn to surf was pretty far out of the way, but I really wanted to do it, right? So like, okay, here, you know what? Why don't you go here? And there's a place. The rest of us, we're going to go do something else and you can just go by yourself. Right. And I was like, okay. And this is just, at the time, this was just okay. I was clearly like, I am pretty sure I was elementary school, like later elementary school, but then I just went, right. I got on the bus and they're like, get off on this exit. And then you just go to your lesson. Right. And then give them this money. I was like, okay. I was going. And then I was like on the bus for a while and they're like, oh yeah, it's like this many stops away. I was like pretty far. And then I think I fell asleep or something while I was on the bus. No. And then like, I kind of like woke up, I was like, okay. And then like, I started freaking out a little bit. I was like, oh my God, I fell asleep. So, or like I just lost track of time. And then I asked the bus driver, I was like, oh, did we pass this stop? They're like, oh yeah, that was like 2 stops ago. And I was like, oh, I need to get off the bus right now. Right. And he's like, normally I don't, but okay. And so he stopped the bus. I got off and I was literally in the middle of like a highway. Right. And I just started running the opposite direction. I was like, I just have to keep going until I find this place. Right. And I'm going and I'm running. And then while I'm going, this lady pulls over. It's like, what are you doing? Right. I was like, I gotta go to stop. And then she's like, do you want to ride? And I was like, is this person going to kidnap me and kill me? He's like, I'm pretty young. Like, I know that I'm not in, like, I had the thought at that time, I was like, I might die, right? This person might like abduct me and kill me, but it's like, but I don't want to run all the way back there. So I was like, and I just weighed my options. Like, she seems like a nice lady. I'll just let her take me. So I literally get into this complete stranger's car.
Holy cow.
And luckily it turned out okay. And she took me there and it was all fine. I got my lesson. I learned how to surf. It was super fun. Right. But then I was just like, man, that could have gone so bad. Like that could have gone in a billion different directions. And luckily it turned out
safe.
Okay.
And here you are.
Yeah. But then like, even at the time I was like, this is probably not a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyway.
You know what though? That actually is still quite telling because in Waikiki, like that's tourist central.
Yeah.
And you don't meet a ton of very, very hospitable, like genuinely kind-hearted locals there because they're all like on the outskirts. And being there for 2 months, like I've witnessed and I've also experienced the aloha spirit It was so like the way that you explained this woman just stopping and like picking up. That's like normal. Like that's just who they are, like in their hearts. If they just want to help everyone all the time, and it's not weird. It's really, the times that kind of effed it up, and also just the tourists that kind of effed it up.
Yeah.
So like people who are locals, they don't like Waikiki because the vibe there is vastly different than, going to like local neighborhoods and stuff where it is still super chill to ask people for rides and offer them candy in a white van.
Everyone is super chill. Like I remember, I got distracted while we were waiting at a light, right? And then the light changed to green, and I didn't know it changed. So I look and I was like, oh my gosh, it's green, but no one honked. I look back, I'm like, oh, everyone's just chill. And then I remember because I'm from LA now, like when as soon as it turns green, I'm ready to just like, come on, move, like, so it turned green at one point and I started honking, and immediately everyone just like looked back at me and they were like, hey man, you got to chill. What's going on? And I was like, oh yeah, sorry. And the whole like, this thing,
you
like,
need the aloha spirit.
The aloha, yeah. He's like, you do not have the aloha spirit.
Yeah.
You're clearly from the city here. So relax,
you must be from LA.
Speaking of a lack of aloha spirit, like the exact opposite is in Shanghai. Do you remember that when we went there? We would be walking down the street and there's like a lone car driving down the road and it's just going down and it's honking by itself. And it's like, and like any reason to honk, when there's no reason to honk, they honk. And then when there's like traffic, they're all honking and nobody is mad. It's just how they signal to each other. Like, I'm here.
Yeah. Like, I want to just honk just because I want to fit in, It's like,
when people are like making music,
it's nonstop, like seriously nonstop.
Yeah.
That's so annoying.
And the cars don't stop. Annoying. Remember, like the cars don't stop. If you're crossing the street, you're in the way. You might get hit. You have to, you have to get out of the way.
Yeah,
that's why they say that Asian drivers, especially Asian women, are not good at driving because they come from a place where there are literally people just honking, and if you don't get out of the way, you'll die. And like the streets are not as like siloed and
like they don't honor the lanes, like people think Asian people can't drive, and I agree that they can't. If they come from Asia, they can't drive according to American tradition. Like they could drive for sure. Like if they could do survival driving.
You got to talk about our driver.
Oh, okay. So we had this driver for several months, and he would just pick us up and take us to wherever we need. But then he was like there was a couple times where he'd pick us up from the airport and stuff, and then I'm like dead tired, so I'm in the back of the van just like on one of the rows just laying down and sleeping. I would just get tossed to like the front and I'd roll down to the floor and stuff because his stopping is just like from 60 to 0 right away. That's like normal driving. Like you don't just slow down to a halt. You know? There's no Tesla style like slow down when you let go of the gas.
There's that one time we came back.
You step on the gas and then like you don't let go. You just go straight to the brake.
There's that one time we came back from Changsha, and then he sped all the way back. And I remember there were moments where he would like literally like this, like not even an inch, like super close to the car next to us, but he was still driving like 50, 60, and like we're hauling ass. And then by the time we got to our hotel, Sam was like on the floor of the car, just like, are we here? Like he was alive.
So these guys are like, they're actually expert drivers if they can actually pull off that kind of maneuver.
Yeah.
Obviously it's not good, but it's like,
it has no regard for others. That's the thing. That's the thing about like Asian driving. It has zero regard for the safety of others. It just wants to get to the place it wants to get to. Yeah. American driving is like, even though there's, a bunch of jerks out there, like it's still, the culture is like, you have to be considerate of others, generally speaking. I think LA is a little not so much like that, but generally like in the Midwest and stuff, people drive pretty courteously.
Everyone's so entitled here. I feel like if you did that move where you were just driving 60 miles an hour and then like in the last 10 feet, you just halt to a stop. Like if I saw that in the rearview mirror, or if anybody in LA saw that in the rearview mirror, they'd be like, what the fuck? Like, how dare you?
Yeah, I agree. And, isn't it funny that we have to always like look at the people that drive bad? Like we have to drive and it's like almost like it's like a part of something we have to do where if someone drives bad, we have, as we pass by, we have to just look at them. Be like, who would drive like that?
You need to make sure it's like, who are you?
Yeah. Who are you?
Reaction to like discover or to like judge.
But then if you're the one that drives bad, then, if they look at you, you don't want to look back because, you don't want to admit.
You'd be like, what? What's wrong with you? It's like, it's just
true.
me being me.
I'm like the most racist driver ever. Like whenever I see somebody mess up driving, I like look at them after I drive. I'm just like, yeah, of course you're Asian. Just drive off.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
I mean, it is disappointing though when like you're like, oh, what a bad driver, and you look at they are Asian, and you're like, oh man,
The worst
and it's like
is
your
when
uncle.
Mom.
Or like it's the worst when you don't know who the driver is and you pass them, and it's this sweet old grandpa or sweet old lady. And you're like, it's okay. No, it's okay. Just run me over.
I feel bad because it just means that there's no one else to drive them around.
Yeah, that's true.
So you said you want 2 different places possibly for your honeymoon. So you said Asian countries or Europe. Which one are you leaning more towards?
Well, we're just lightly considering right now. We're so caught up in the planning process that we haven't really seriously considered anything for a honeymoon yet. But we have spoken about Japan. We also have spoken about Venezia, otherwise known as Venice.
Like,
okay.
what?
Never heard it said like that, but okay, cool.
That's literally the name of the place.
Oh, okay, cool.
Venezia?
Venice. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's actually this like blog or a video blog like that I follow, this channel on YouTube, and he lives there. And he's always talking about it, like Venezia this, Venezia that. And I'm just like, oh man, that place is beautiful. Like, man, it's such a small place. Like, I've never heard of it. I'd like to go there maybe for my honeymoon. And then I just like look it up, and it's like, oh, Venice. I had no idea, but it seems pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'd like to, hit up the European countries. It's where the OGs hang.
I could safely say that. Well, I've only been to a couple of European countries. I went to Paris for my honeymoon, which was great. Japan is awesome. I really, really like Japan. It's really fun there. But
where did you go in Japan?
So I just did Tokyo, but like there's so much to do there that like we were there for like a week and it was super fun. But I think it appeals to me specifically because I'm like a super nerd. So like, I like a lot of that crap that's over there.
I mean, I just want to go there and like get into a cramped room and eat ramyun and like.
Yeah, the ramen there is bomb. The food there is bomb. And if you do go, this sounds weird, but go to Yoshinoya there. It's way different than it is here.
The fast food restaurant?
Yeah. Yoshinoya over there is like is freaking good. And it's like pretty cheap compared to like, because I think they get, because they're like, big time corporation, the meat there is not as expensive as if you went to a different place, but it's like better. I don't know how to explain it. You
know what's funny is like in LA, Taco Bell on Yelp is like 3 stars, right? In Chicago, it's 5. So, people from Chicago obviously value Taco Bell much higher. I don't know.
But we have like Del Taco here, El Pollo Loco.
Well, because you can just get legit Mexican food out
sure,
exactly. Really good. So that's probably why it's rated so low.
Oh yeah.
Do you think Mexican people like secretly love Taco Bell, but they just don't really want to admit it?
I'm sure they like. Okay, so
like Chinese people too. Like they actually really like panda.
No, they do. So I know a bunch of Chinese people. And they do like panda. They don't consider it to be real Chinese food.
No, they get offended,
but they love it.
They get so offended by that. Yeah.
Who can say that it's not? Like honestly, is it not? Of course, it's good. Like it's legitimately a good, delicious food. It's not good for you.
Just because it's not authentically that culture's food, like doesn't make it not tasty.
No, exactly. I 100% agree. It's still delicious.
Yeah, I think it's kind of snobby when someone's like, "Oh, that's not real." Like, what do you mean real? Like, we're just talking about if it's delicious or not.
Mm-hmm. Right. Also, I think they recognize themselves as a Chinese American or American Chinese cuisine, not a Chinese cuisine. So, like,
Like,
If you put
unless
American to it, it can suck a little bit more.
unless if they're like, it's not real and it's literally not real, like it's made out of powder of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, it might be. You never know. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do like Panda Express, and I do like Taco Bell. I mean,
How do we feel about Jack in the Box, though?
I think Jack in the Box kind of sucks.
You think?
Yeah, but I think their meat lovers breakfast burrito is the bomb.
Have you tried their new their cheddar biscuit chicken sandwich?
I don't go there to try new things. I don't go like, have you heard?
Yeah,
we need to go to
me
Jack in
too.
the Box.
If like say they're checking off like, oh, I tried this already. Let's go down the list here.
It's kind of like when there's a buzz and people are like, have you heard the McRib is back? Like, who goes back there and gets it? You guys still get the
I
McRib?
definitely go back for the McRib. So I know
Really?
maybe you don't, but I do.
That mystery meat that's in the shape of a rack of ribs.
I mean,
with 2 pickles on
kind of
top
like
of
what we're
it.
talking about. As long as it's delicious, I'm okay with it. Like,
Okay.
I think it's delicious.
I agree with that. I mean, like even back in the day when they said Taco Bell meat is not real meat, or it's like, like grade Z meat, like the lowest possible. I'm like, well, it tastes damn good. Whatever it is, I'll keep eating it. And I'd rather not know what it is. Then as long as I don't see how they process it, then I'm good. But
that's the thing. The important thing is, like, would you make the trip out there to get it? I mean, of course, it matters how close a McDonald's is. Like for me, a McDonald's is like 3 miles away, which is like
that's true.
2.5 miles too far from me. Like a McDonald's should be walking distance.
I would take a trip for a rodeo
Chick-fil-A?
burger. No,
rodeo burger.
You remember?
Burger King.
Yeah, Burger King rodeo burger, the best. I think it's like the best. Simple. You get your onion rings, your barbecue sauce, your cheddar cheese, and your hamburger. Perfect.
Isn't it called like? Oh yeah. I think I remember. Know what you're talking about.
That's good stuff.
So like most of the time, I mean, I agree. Like these are not the foods that I would go out of my way for. But then it's like if I'm on a lunch break and it's nearby, then I'm okay with it.
Okay, then is Yoshinoya worth going out of your way for in Japan?
At least once, yes, I would agree.
Wow.
Because it's not like here. It's not a fast food. It's a sit down restaurant.
Wow.
I heard KFC is like high class over there.
I think isn't that the case in Korea too? I heard like KFC in Korea is pretty high class. I don't know. Like out of all the Asian countries I've been to, I know I'm Korean, but I did not enjoy my time in Korea that much. Like I just
really?
Probably out of all of us, I'm the least like Koreanized person that I like. Out of all of my Korean friends, I'm probably like the least Koreanized person that I know. Like I'm very American, like so American that even when I went to Korea, I felt so uncomfortable there because they look at me and they know that I'm Korean, but it's so obvious that I can't speak the language well and like that I'm not from there that it's like, okay, I don't belong in this country. It's weird.
What's with you and not liking kimchi? What's the deal with that?
Hey, whatever. You're the same way. So.
Damn. Yeah.
He has a phobia. Wait.
No, actually, we both don't eat kimchi, by the way. I was just trying to put it on
Blast.
Mine is different though. Mine is not a phobia. Mine is it's all pickled food I can't eat. So it's not just kimchi. It's just pickles.
Well, Brandon, in Korea, did you like stay out until 4 a.m. and then go to like jjimjilbang at 5 and then sleep until 8 and then get breakfast elsewhere? If you didn't do that, no wonder you didn't like Korea.
Like, okay, so what I know about Korea is that it's like great for like if you want to party, right? If you want to drink and stuff like that. And I enjoy those things. But like I just didn't know where to go. Like Did
you go by yourself?
No, I went with my wife, but then like it was just the two of us. We don't really like to go party, we don't like to go clubbing or anything like that. And maybe like we didn't look into any jjimjilbangs, but I guess we should have done that. But then it was just like all we really did was shop. And I don't like shopping. That's not a pastime for me that I enjoy. So I was like, okay, this is like, there's like, for me, there wasn't anything to go see or do. Whereas there was a lot of that in Japan. And I don't really have any family in Korea. Like I have some, but I didn't even hit, like the last time I went, I didn't even hit them up because I was like, I can't even speak the same language as them. Like my Korean is so bad that I wouldn't even really be able to communicate with them that well.
Yeah.
But then we went to Taiwan where Linnea's family's at, and like we had a great time because they just took us everywhere and Linnea can communicate with them really well. But like, so yeah, I had like of the 3 countries I went to during that trip, Korea was by far lowest on the tiers.
I feel like Korea is really just a place if you love to drink and eat.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's perfect. Like but you need to go with some friends so you can have that company while you go do that.
So it was just like, she just didn't know what to do. And like, the food was good. And we didn't really drink though. So
I think you should go again with people, like another couple or have some locals show you around. And I think they'll change your mind.
I think if I went with my family or like you said, with some friends, I think it'd be way more fun. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then just when I'm supposed to be the one that figures out what to do there, I'm just like, I don't know what to do here.
Go to North Korea this time.
Yeah, try that.
I heard it's different.
It's a whole other half of Korea to explore,
The cab drivers out there, you either get a super grouchy guy or you get someone that's super friendly. It's I feel like it's two extremes, And anytime I come across like this guy that's like super grouchy and old, it's always always a story, because I remember one time I was in this car and I was supposed to meet up with Jen, and after my session I was supposed to meet up with Jen and our friends, and we were on our way. I thought I was going the right way, but I realized it was the opposite way. So then I was supposed to tell him, we got to turn around. So I was like, excuse me, and I was talking Korean, and I was like, 저쪽인 것 같아요. Like I was like, pointing the other way. And he like did this like grunt, like, and he just like did like a complete, like he did a turn, like a U-turn in the middle of like the street. Like, we were just driving and he did like an illegal U-turn just out of nowhere. And then something happened. I got a text message and Jen said, you are actually going the right way, so just don't turn around. I'm like, oh damn it. Like now I have to tell him again, like, 저기요, 저쪽으로 가야 돼요. I'm like pointing back that way. And he was so angry. And the funny thing is, like, he was watching Korean drama while he was driving. Like he had his phone, like
they're all watching something.
Oh yeah.
And I think I was like messing up his drama experience or something, because
he was watching porn.
Yeah. It was like Pornhub, and I'm like, I'm trying to talk to him, give him directions. But he was I was literally like saying, it's the other way. And then he again, like, grunted and like, just really upset, and like, he like turned around. And as we were going, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going the right way, So Jen's like, well, ask, if you're going, so-and-so. I'm like, damn it. Like, Jen, you just don't know what's going on right now. It's like really intense. I'm like so stressed out. I'm like, all right, well, I have to figure this out, because he would be really pissed if we ended up in the complete opposite, place. So I'm like, are we going, to this place? And I kind of asked, and he wouldn't say anything, like complete silence. I'm like, maybe he didn't hear me. So I was like, yeah, are we going to this place? Like, sir, and like, he's like, nothing. I'm like, okay. So I texted back. I'm like, Jen, he's mad at me. He's not talking to me. So she's like, what? Like, what's happening in that? And I was like, I don't know. I think I'm just going to have to get dropped off, and then I'll go from there, because I might get killed. I don't know what's going to happen. So we finally get to the place. Luckily, I didn't make it. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be the bigger guy here. So I said, thank you so much for everything. And maybe it sounded like I gave him a speech. Thank you for your service for this country. I just told him, like, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I know, we made some changes. As I was talking, he just drives off, and I'm like, all right, but I made it, so it was just,
it's because he was making the speech in English. He's like, what are you saying right now?
Thank you so much. It's like, I got to watch the rest of this drama. Bye-bye. But yeah, it was quite interesting though.
Lesson learned. Do not interrupt a man watching porn.
Yeah, and do not ask him directions by making him look at your phone. Like, every single time I show him my phone, like, I need to go here. And they go, no, mola. I'm like, okay. Then get out of the car then? He's like, yeah, yes. All right. So I would have to come out of the cab and find somebody that understood what I was talking about. But it's fun though. I'm not trying to, bash or trash the experience. I think, to be honest with you, I think Korea was one of the best experiences anytime I go out there. And again, like you guys said, it's really has to do with who you're out there with, and how you plan it out. And I think for us too, like because a lot of times we're in these like sessions and we have deadlines and it's high stress, and but I think when you do have time to connect with the culture and walk around, I think one of the best memories I've had, as Sam kind of mentioned it, like is like being in the streets, sitting down in a busy street and eating when there's a bunch of noise and just, a big crowd, and something about that you just connect with. You just feel really good,
Mm.
Yeah.
I will say that Korea has Seoul specifically, I haven't really been to other places, but they have the best subway system out of every place I've ever been to. It's
more than Japan?
Japan's subway system is a complicated mess. I hated their subway system. Because I think, so Taiwan and Seoul are very similar. I think the subway is run by the state or run by the country, right? So whatever you pay taxes, it basically pays for the subway. And it goes everywhere. And Seoul's great. You can literally go everywhere and then you pay that one ticket, whatever, right? In Japan, every single line is owned by a different company. It cannot, obviously there are some lines that are like some companies that own multiple lines and stuff like that, like JR Line or whatever. But some of them literally just pass through stops. Like it goes there, but it'll just pass through because it's not allowed to stop at that place because
that's so weird.
Some contract issue or something. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, I need to go here. So I'll get on this line that I know goes in that direction, but I'll literally just pass straight through it because it's not allowed to stop there. And like,
sucks.
And it's possible there's like apps that like kind of explain it better now. But at the time, there's literally just a map. So I'm just looking at a map and I don't know, like there's no like designation of which one stops where. So that was horrible. But everything else was great. It's just the subway system. Whereas Seoul has the greatest subway system, even better than like New York and everything. For sure.
Miss traveling.
You miss traveling? You're the one that just most recently traveled.
I know. It's not enough.
Where's the most fun place you've ever been to? Other than Hawaii. You can't say Hawaii.
Most fun place? Oh my gosh, there's too many. It depends on what definition of fun is, because
it's such a flex. You're like, there's too many.
Yeah,
too many places.
Exactly what I was thinking. I was like, damn, okay.
Wait, no, sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant,
don't you know we're in a pandemic right now? You're just like in Hawaii surfing.
You know what's interesting is that you don't like sea animals or anything that touches you. So how'd you deal with that? Being in the ocean.
Like the fish in the ocean are like pretty. They're not dead. They're not like cold and out.
You weren't like scared of sharks or anything like that?
I mean, there's always like that thought in the back of my mind, but I think it was just too, I think that fear was too small compared to the desire to want to be in the ocean. And
wow.
You have to want it more than you fear it.
That is so aloha. Wow.
So the criteria is, I guess, it was just which one was your most favorite? What was your favorite place to visit out of all the places you visited?
Honestly, I don't know why I keep thinking Santorini. Or I say Santorini only because that was like literally a whole different culture, it felt like. But fun was Korea because of the people that I was with. But also like the first time I went to Hawaii with Aaron, it was like with someone that I love. And like, that's, it's like there's different types and of areas of fun.
These are good answers.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean it like I've traveled the world on my black MX card.
Well, that's how I feel still, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
How about the rest of you guys? Where's the most fun place you've ever, or favorite place you've been to outside the country?
I think it might be South America, probably Chile. Some of the craziest stuff happened there too. I mean, when I was there, the people I was with didn't really think it was that big of a deal, but it certainly was. We went to this place called Pucón, and that's there's like an active volcano there, and it's kind of like this place where there's a bunch of cabins and you can like hang out there. So we took this charter bus overnight there because Chile is like this long strip of land, right? So you basically have to go down all the way. And On the way there, it was a very foggy night, and the driver was falling asleep. The bus driver was falling asleep. Everyone was asleep. We're all reclined and sleeping.
Oh,
the bus driver was falling asleep. All of a sudden, we're shaken awake by this tremendous impact, right? Luckily, we're all laying down, so our feet are just absorbing the impact, you know? So, like, it's not like we went flying forward or anything, but then there was this big impact, and then, like, what the hell happened? And apparently in the fog, the guy fell asleep and he drifted into oncoming traffic. And he hit a pickup truck and he killed the dude that was driving the pickup truck.
Oh my
God, I have chills.
He died on impact. And so we all got out of the bus and we're all waiting there. You know, like the entire, the left side where the driver is, that entire wall of window is just crushed. And the dude is just fine. You know, you can imagine how terrible he feels.
Oh my God.
And then we all got out of the bus in the middle of the night in the middle of the desert and waited for another bus and just hopped on that and went on our merry way to vacation. So, you know, it showed up in the news as soon as we arrived. We like turned on the TV and it was like on the news. We're like, hey, that's us. But I was pretty traumatized by that because you don't see that here. Not to say you see that all the time over there, but then for them, they're just like, yeah, I mean, you know, this kind of stuff happens.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, wow.
That's insane.
Yeah. But that's not what makes Chile the funnest place.
Oh my gosh.
It's really a combination of the food, the experience of people around me, the dancing, and all that stuff. So,
wow, that is, I mean, aside from all the wonderful things you just said, that story is crazy. That is a crazy story.
Yeah, like to be in a car that actually ends up ending someone's life is like a pretty crazy experience, you know? And it's very unfortunate that happened.
Oof. Oof.
Yeah, it always comes back to death or something dark in this episode. I don't know what it is, but I guess we're all just feeling that way.
We're all wearing black.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Joe is the most colorful of us all, but only because that Nike symbol's got that.
That's true.
Or skin tone, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till I show you my thighs. Blind everybody. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That went real dark. I don't
Sorry.
It's ever happened, like anything even close to something like that. I've never even.
I hope it never happens, you know?
That's some like Final Destination shit. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't say that. Now it's going to be looking for us, you know?
Oh my gosh, you can cheat it though.
But only for so long, according to the movie.
It catches us all.
At some point, it's going to catch you. Yeah. Have you, when that movie came out when I was, so I remember when I watched the first movie, I was a freshman and I watched it the night of my homecoming dance. Like we all went to homecoming and then I went to somebody's house after and we watched the movie.
Oh, man.
I don't know why. That's just how it went down. And then after I finished watching that movie, I was freaked out because I was like, oh my gosh, that was crazy, right? Like all that death that can happen like out of nowhere. And I remember I went home and I was taking off my, what is it called? Boutonniere, you know, the flower that you have pinned. So I took it off and then the pin dropped out of my hand, right? And then it landed right between my big toe and the toe next. It went tick, and it stuck. I was like, "What the hell?" It freaked the hell out of me. I was like, "Oh my god!" And then I just like went to bed immediately, and I was just like, "That was terrifying."
That would be the worst death if that needle just landed on your feet and it hit a pressure point and you just died. Oh, you know, it's. Game over, you know.
Brennan Joy, death by boutonniere pin.
Death by acupuncture.
The one spot acupuncture accident.
Yeah. What's the scariest movie you've ever seen in your life?
Event Horizon, I think, was this one that scared me.
Oh, that was bizarre. What was a bizarre movie?
I don't know if I've ever seen that. I think the scariest movie also, it has to take into account at what age you saw it.
Oh, so I was
because like going into our 30s or something, we can literally watch anything and go right to sleep.
Oh wow!
What,
dude? When
That's
I was a
comedy.
Kid, I know, but when I watched it when I was a kid, I was freaking out.
Wait, how old were you?
I was young, like
we're all somebody's kid. It could have been like last week. Like what age were you?
I was probably like in elementary school.
I know. If you watch it when it first came out, you were really young.
Yeah, that was like mid to late 90s, right?
Let me look at a Mars Attacks release.
I could see that.
Late 90s, I would say.
Because like it's got some like weird stuff.
Well, it's aliens, and when you're a kid, like you could think that like a tree is creepy.
1996. How old were you?
5.
Wow.
What? You watched it when you were like? So did you watch it in theaters or what?
No, not in theaters. I watched it with my older Chinopa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He made me watch it, and then he felt bad, and he bought me an Arthur doll.
Wow.
So
traumatized.
Okay, so I'm gonna change my answer because Event Horizon was probably one of the weirdest, scariest.
It was a strange movie.
But I think the movie that freaked me out the most growing up was probably Terminator 2.
Wow.
Because I watched it when I was like 7.
But it made it all good when he had the little thumbs up at the end, though.
Yeah, but then just like everything about it was pretty terrifying at that age. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time right now.
Yeah.
But I remember when I first watched it, it freaked me out because like
I can see that too.
There's so much blood and there's
and that dude, he's like liquid metal and just turns into knives and stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
and Arnold Schwarzenegger naked. I mean, that's pretty scary, you know.
Oh.
I mean, that didn't scare me at all. But
he just paused it there and just stared at it for 2 hours and said he watched the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a very, very strong man. But yeah,
for me, by far, it was when I was like 9 or 10 or something, and I watched the Japanese version of The Ring.
Yeah, that sounds terrifying. And you're willing to watch that movie.
Yeah, because we watched it while we were in Korea. And so after that, we came back to the USA, and of course you have jet lag, right? Well, I had a TV in my room because first world, and there was some magnetization on the screen. So there's some color changing on the screen that I hadn't noticed prior to it. Okay. So I would have the lights off and I'm just like laying there, and I was so freaked out when I saw that. I just laid there frozen until the sun came up.
Oh my God.
Like eyes wide open, just staring at the screen.
I remember that time because, and we could cut this out if Sam, you don't want me to talk about it, but Sam was taking a crap and he had the door open just to see if everybody was still out there. He was like, "Hey, are you still out there?" And of course, you know, I always just stay quiet, you know, just see.
It was a scary time. I mean, you know, those are the times when you always have to check behind the shower curtains to see if anyone's there. You know, it's like now, like I like to have that little mystery. You know, now I just keep it, and I don't check back there. I just sit down and do my business. If something pops out, it's a welcome surprise. You know,
it's so crazy.
Might help you poop more.
I understand. Like, I remember when movies used to really like grip me, you know, like they used to get me so good. Like I'd be so into it and everything. And now I still enjoy movies. Yeah. But then like, it's nothing like what it was when I was younger. Like,
well, your mind was so much more empty back then.
Yeah,
so,
maybe.
You know, so like, much more impressionable.
Scary movies do absolutely nothing to me now. It's like, it's just funny to me now instead of scary, which is... Like, I mean, obviously some things like there's still jump scares that'll get me. I'm like, oh, you know, because like, you know, that's what they're made to do. But like they don't have that lasting effect. Like kind of like what you were saying, like, oh my God, something's going to come out of the TV. Or I remember when I was really young, I remember watching the trailer for, what was that movie? It was the Japanese version of, she was laying down on her like, you know, bed, which is like a mat. And then like, she's like looking around and then all of a sudden she like lifts up her sheet and there's a ghost kid looking up at her, right?
I think I know what that is.
And I remember watching that trailer and that freaked me out because I remember the bed was my safety net, right? Right. And then they just took that from me because now there's like something there. I'm like, nothing.
How do you get there? Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not safe anywhere, which is that terrified me. And I don't remember how old I was, like pretty young, but then like, yeah, like that kind of stuff just doesn't get me anymore. I'm like, oh, I mean, I guess I'm kind of glad because I don't want to live in fear. But at the same time, it was just a different time. I don't know. It's crazy.
But it's also because like you kind of know how filming works now. And it's like the magic of storytelling and the cinematography and all that kind of stuff. And when you watch a film, whether it be a horror movie or like a dramatic movie or action movie, you just kind of appreciate the work instead of like getting involved in like what is actually going on,
like emotionally.
Like kind of like a long time ago, back when Universal Studios had Back to the Future ride. Do you remember that, the Back to the Future ride?
No.
It's just a big screen, and it's just taking you on this ride while the car that you're sitting in just shakes a lot, you know? When I first rode that, my arm was sore for a whole day because I was holding so tightly onto the rail that I thought I was going to fall into the dinosaur's mouth or into the volcano. And then the second time I rode it, I started looking around. I was like,
how are they doing this?
I see the line.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, like you see things. And the third time you're like, oh, this is fun, but like, you know, it's a screen. And so like you appreciate the works that were put into it, but then now it's no longer an immersive experience.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's the same with like horror movies.
The cab driver is saying the same thing about porn. I watched this, you know.
So this dialogue isn't what I would have written. You know?
And this guy in the back keeps making him turn around. So it's terrible. You know, but
analyze this more.
Analyze this. But yeah, I remember watching The Crow when I was younger. Brandon Lee, and I think that's the movie he died actually shooting.
That one.
There's a few other ones in the past, like even earlier on, but I remember this specifically because it was scary, but then they also showed boobs, and it was like the first time, right? Like the group of guys, and like, there was about like 7 or 8 of us in the basement. And we're trying to watch this, you know, R-rated movie while the parents were sleeping, and we had a sleepover. So we put it in, and we see boobs, and we're like, "What? What is that?" You know, like because you know, mind you, like today, I mean, you know, it's everywhere. You can see, you know, like I don't even know what are exposed to our children, you know, our kids today. But I imagine there's a lot more. But back then, it's like, you know, you can't just see a R-rated movie, you know. So I remember. He put the VHS tape in, you know, and it was The Crow, and we watched it. And then when it came up, like I just remember one of them kept pausing and rewinding and pausing, you know, the scene. It was, but nobody was complaining, and we're like, "Holy cow, it's boobs!" But yeah, do you guys remember like the moment like when something like that was exposed, and like it was kind of like a, you know, I don't want to say life changing, but it was like, holy cow, like, you know, there's something that I've never seen before, you know, because I imagine all guys at least go through something like that where they come across, you know, especially during puberty. But, you know, for girls, like, what is there? Like, you know, there's no like, you don't see like dicks on, you know, movies that, like randomly. I mean, I'm sure there is, you know, there are movies like that too, but, you know, like, but
back in the day, there wasn't.
No, I don't think so.
In terms of boobs, I mean, I think for every man, like in our generation, at an earlier age, you know, if it wasn't for like the X-rated stuff, everyone saw their first major motion picture boobs on Titanic. You know, because like it wasn't rated R. That is shocking.
Yeah,
that they would, you know, just lay her out, and she'll be like, you know, like draw me like one of your French girls, and her boobs are just there, and like we were there in the theater with our aunt. Watching together, and it's just like we're supposed to act like we don't like that. Like, we're all just supposed to like look around and like, oh, popcorn, like
pause it.
Our minds are blown, you know.
Yeah,
that was the first time I saw boobs on big screen, and I would like peep at my parents. I'd be like,
"You don't have boobs," so we're like, "What?" You know, like for us, it's like the first time ever. You know, so it was just. Yeah, fun experience.
I went to my aunt and I was like, "Can we watch it again? Because the story."
The story.
It was considered the greatest movie of its time at the time. So
maybe of all time. Yeah, maybe of all time.
Yeah.
For a long time, I think it was
certainly the soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back on it now, it's pretty cheesy, but like at the time, technically, and like all the things that they did for them. I mean, they built
budget wise, that was like so crazy for its time.
Yeah, I mean, James Cameron did a lot of work in that movie, so it was good for the time.
But what's with that floating door? There was enough space for both of them.
Have you seen the Mythbusters? They totally be like, he could have fit on that door.
Yeah.
They could have at least taken turns, you know.
That's true.
Like, Rose, I can't feel my legs anymore. It's like, all right, time to switch.
Just stay down there for a little bit longer.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. So like, okay, I remember after I used to watch movies, I'd kind of feel like tingly. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but then like it's because I truly enjoyed the experience that like I felt almost tingly. I was like, oh man, that was fun, right?
Sounds like you're talking about porn though.
It only happened with Titanic. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
like
okay.
in general. But then like I would get like this is like when I was like in I don't know, I guess elementary up until like high school. But then I remember the last movie that happened with. Like I haven't had that feeling for decades at this point, right? And like the last movie that I had that feeling with was Snakes on a Plane.
What?
Because like that movie was obviously so stupid, right? Ridiculous and dumb and whatever. But I went into the movie knowing that that's what it was going to be. Like I went into the movie knowing that this is going to be a ridiculously dumb movie, but that's all I want out of this movie. And it was exactly what I wanted, right? It was Samuel L. Jackson being his belligerent self and just all these people dying these crazy deaths by snakes on a plane, right? And it was so stupid and so funny and just like exactly what I wanted. So like I actually enjoyed that movie thoroughly while I was in the theater, and I think it was in high school. But yeah, that was the last movie that like I felt like, wow, I really enjoyed that movie going experience for some reason.
Wow. That's what it's all about though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I still had that.
Yeah. But nowadays with Avengers and everything, like you go in with a good crowd, you can like people get real into it. Like real into it.
Well, I like stand-up comedy, you know, like that in terms of just how we experience entertainment, like live, or I guess movies aren't necessarily live, but you know, just to go to an event and then kind of experience it all together with people. I think there's no energy like stand-up, right? I mean, it's like you see just how didn't we go at one time? At least the three of us for that one show with Theo Von and Chris D'Elia. Like
that was hilarious.
That was yeah. And I mean, you know, and definitely, I think stand up is coming back, right?
Yeah, comedy stores open again, so
that's amazing. And you know, hopefully, and Eunice, do you still plan on getting on that stage so that we can all go see? Yeah.
You got to do like a set. It doesn't need to be super long. It'd be like even 5 minutes, a 5-minute set.
Yeah. It's solid.
I know. Yeah. It's on my bucket list.
What would be your opening line? Not even like your opening bit. Like what would be the
Aloha.
Island girl.
Yeah, I gotta think about that one. But that's such a wild dream. And it's achievable if you just have the guts to do it, I think. Because you can just go to a stage and you can totally suck or you can totally be great, but you're just doing it. Mm-hmm. And then that's it.
Yeah.
But if you're bombing, how would you guys all, like, what would be your instinct, like, to when, as soon as you see someone yell, get off the stage, like, what would be your first go-to?
Do a cartwheel.
Probs.
Do a cartwheel off the stage.
Okay, so the pros, right? When they're bombing, what do they do? Is there a thing? Is there like a general thing that you should do? Like, do you just keep going, or do you?
I think you just have to keep going because some jokes in a set will hit and some jokes will not hit. So you have to pick and choose which ones work.
Because I know the pros, like, they're working at their craft, so they know when some things might suck. So they're like literally like going to a place knowing that, you know, they're working on their special, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, hey, like, you know, I'm just working on some new material, so here it goes, right? And they're like, and they'll be like, oh, well, that didn't work, you know, and then they just keep going. But then if it's for like a new comic or someone that's up and coming or trying to break into the scene, I guess you would just have to keep going, or just like kind of maybe try to acknowledge how bad that joke was, maybe in like a silly way, just to get a laugh out of that, and then just go from there.
Like, don't be a sore loser. Just kind of like go.
And be like, well, that joke was terrible. Moving on, you know, that kind of thing. And just like, I don't know. I guess that's how I would try to go about it.
Yeah.
Bombing must be the most terrible feeling ever.
Dramatic.
But it's a necessary thing, you know. If you want to get better, you got to be terrible at something.
I have moments like that when I'm like talking to my boss, where I felt like I was like, why did I say that? Right.
Mm.
Like I'll be like, the other day she called me and she was talking like, I forget why. I was in the middle of something. So like I spoke to her like my friend for a split second. She called me and I was like, hey, I said, hey. And then I was like, I didn't say like, what do you want? But I was like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, oh my God, why did I say that? Right. I was like, why would I ever talk to her like that? And I was just like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, and I just like muddled through the conversation. And then after she hung up, I was like, I'm so stupid. I was like, okay, just move on. And I just like went on, but I was like, that was embarrassing.
Yeah. I think that's the worst. Like when you're in middle of your conversation or just middle of like you talking about something and then you realize you're like, why am I talking about this? You know, how do I get out of this or how do I transition? I imagine stand up to be somewhat similar to that or at least like you run into that kind of scenario, you know, time to time, because as you're riffing or as you're delivering the bits, like I'm sure there are moments where you're like, oh man, the crowd's not feeling it. How do I get out of this? How do I transition? You know, but oh yeah, I respect it a lot. I you know, that's definitely a part of my bucket list. And I made a promise to Eunice, you know, whenever she does their special, I'll you know, be a part of it some form, you know, figure it out. Yeah.
Promise is a promise.
Right, both you guys have to do it.
Yeah, we'll be there to watch you and boo you and, you know, whatever, to humble you and prepare you for excellence.
Those are true friends.
I'm tired.
Me too. I don't know if you guys just saw the half naked man.
I definitely saw that. I was just like, I didn't want to say anything, but I definitely saw that.
Brendan was like, it's like, well, shit.
I was like, ha 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 ha.
Let's do that, guys.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
thank you, everyone.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, fine gentleman and lady. It was a bit dark today, but yes, let's do this more often.
Yeah, and this was definitely more lighthearted, and it was fun. But yeah,
Go surf it.
All right,
Aloha.
from Loud Snackers Podcast, aloha.
Yeah. All right.
Aloha.